You ever sit down one day, maybe with a cup of tea in your hand, and wonder why certain family gatherings leave you feeling more drained than loved? You look around the room, and instead of warmth, you sense tension. It's subtle, but it's there. And the older you get, the clearer it becomes. Some people, even those with your blood running through their veins, aren't necessarily good for your peace, your health, or your soul. Especially after 60, when time feels more precious than ever, protecting your emotional well-being becomes just as important as taking your medication or doing your daily walk. Today, we're going to talk about something few people have the courage to say out loud, relatives you might need to distance yourself from. Some of these may shock you, especially number 5, but they're important to recognize if you want to live a truly peaceful, fulfilling life in your golden years. If you've ever felt unseen, disrespected, or emotionally manipulated by a family member, this conversation might just be what your soul has been waiting for. That you'll discover 6 types of relatives who can quietly but deeply disturb your inner peace after 60. Learn how to recognize the emotional signs they leave behind and understand how to lovingly set boundaries so you can protect your heart, your mind, and your time. If that sounds like something that could help you or someone you care about, give this video a like and subscribe to the channel. Your support allows us to continue creating meaningful content that speaks to your life experiences and uplifts others just like you. By the time this video ends, you'll feel more empowered and emotionally clear. You'll stop blaming yourself for dynamics that were never your fault and start reclaiming your space, your sanity, and your smile. So let's lean in and begin, just you and me, as if we were having a heart-to-heart in your living room. First, let's talk about that one relative who always has a problem with everything you do. You know the type. You were something nice, and they say, "Try to look young again." You mention a new hobby, and they reply, "Aren't you too old for that?" This is the chronic critic, and their words don't just bounce off you anymore. After 60, those little jabs cut a bit deeper. You've lived enough to know that not everyone claps for your happiness, especially those who secretly struggle with their own. The critic disguises their insecurity as concern. They don't come to celebrate you. They come to diminish you so they can feel superior. Over time, their presence makes you second-guess yourself, suppress your joy, and avoid sharing your wins. But here's the truth. Life after 60 should be about embracing joy without apology. The critic doesn't deserve a front-row seat in your life. Create some distance. You don't need to make a dramatic announcement. Just lessen the calls, the visits, the invitations. Your peace will thank you. Then there's the guilt tripper. This relative is a master manipulator who makes you feel like a terrible person for not meeting their endless expectations. You never visit me, they say, even if you just saw them last week. After all I've done for you, they sigh, casting a dark shadow over your entire day. The guilt tripper thrives on control. They don't ask how you're doing. They just keep score. But here's what they don't realize. You're not responsible for anyone's happiness but your own. And after 60, carrying someone else's emotional baggage is simply too heavy. You've earned the right to rest, to heal, and to say no. If your presence in their life is conditional on sacrifice and emotional blackmail, it's time to step back. Healthy love doesn't come with guilt attached. Now let's talk about the relative who always needs saving. This is the perpetual victim, the one who never quite grows up. Whether it's financial troubles, relationship drama, or some personal crisis, their life is always a mess, and you're always the one they call to fix it. In your younger years, you may have felt obligated to help, but now, you can't afford to pour from an empty cup. These relatives don't grow because they rely on your strength to avoid building their own. And the longer you enable them, the more they pull you away from your own peace. Remember, compassion doesn't mean martyrdom. You can love someone and still say, "This is your journey to walk now." After 60, your energy is sacred. You should be using it to enrich your own life, not patch holes in someone else's never-ending bucket. Then there's the show-off. This one is tricky because on the surface, they seem harmless, but they turn every family moment into a competition. They brag about their children, their vacations, their health, their investments, making you feel like you're always falling short. They may not insult you directly, but their need to constantly one-up leaves you feeling small. These relatives drain your self-worth slowly, with smiles on their faces. And after 60, when your body is changing and your income may be limited, it's easy to internalize their subtle put-downs. Don't. You're not less because someone else is loud about their wins. Real confidence is quiet. Don't let their noise drown out your joy. Limit your exposure. You don't need to compete. You need to breathe. Number 5 is the most shocking, the one we least expect. It's the indifferent relative. They don't hurt you with harsh words or demands. They hurt you with silence, with neglect, with the kind of distance that feels like rejection. This may be a child, a sibling, or someone you once nurtured. And now they barely check in. They forget your birthday. They don't ask how you are. And when they do show up, it's only when they need something. Their absence is louder than any insult. After 60, this kind of emotional abandonment can crush the spirit. But here's the hard truth. Sometimes the people you gave the most will be the ones who give you the least. You must stop chasing after them. Your worth isn't determined by their attention. Grieve the relationship if you must, but then release it. Fill your life with those who see you, who hear you, who cherish you. It's never too late to build new bonds or strengthen old ones that matter. The ones who choose you, they're your real family now. And lastly, beware the angry soul, the one who brings their storms wherever they go. They snap, complain, shout, and carry bitterness like a badge of honor. Every conversation with them feels like walking on eggshells. Their presence stresses your nervous system, and their energy lingers long after they leave the room. Maybe it's an older brother, a cousin, or even a lifelong friend. But no matter who they are, their anger is not your responsibility. After 60, stress is no longer just emotional. It takes a physical toll. High blood pressure, sleep problems, anxiety, all of these can stem from toxic relationships. You deserve environments that heal, not harm. So whether it's reducing visits or limiting phone calls, it's okay to protect yourself. Peace is not a luxury. It's your right. Oh, there it is. The critic, the guilt tripper, the emotional leech, the show-off, the indifferent one, and the angry soul. 6 types of relatives who may have once felt like unavoidable burdens, but are now choices you can consciously walk away from. At this stage in life, the time for obligation is over. Now is the time for liberation. You've earned the freedom to surround yourself with love, kindness, and mutual respect. Don't let the illusion of family trap you in emotional prisons. Family isn't just who you're born to. It's who shows up for you, who values your peace, who honors your journey. Walk forward with your head held high, knowing that choosing yourself isn't selfish, it's survival. And perhaps for the first time, you'll realize that peace isn't found in more people, but in fewer, better ones. And now that we've talked about the types of relatives you need to distance yourself from, let's talk about the why behind it. The emotional truth many people ignore because they're afraid of appearing cold or ungrateful. After 60, your emotional landscape becomes more fragile and more precious. You've carried the weight of responsibilities for decades, raising children, working jobs, showing up for people who sometimes didn't show up for you. And now you finally deserve rest, clarity, and emotional balance. The hard part is that guilt often sneaks in, making you feel like if you pull away from certain relatives, you're abandoning your role or being unkind. But choosing peace doesn't make you cruel. It means you're finally honoring yourself the way you've always deserved to be honored. Think of your time and energy like a garden. Do you really want to keep watering weeds that keep choking your flowers? Some people, no matter how long they've been in your life, have grown into weeds, consuming your joy, blocking your light, leaving you depleted and unsure. But the moment you recognize them for what they are, you get your power back. You stop answering every call that fills you with dread. You stop sitting through dinners where your worth is questioned. You stop pretending you're okay when you're quietly crumbling inside from years of unspoken hurt. And slowly, gently, you start reclaiming the parts of you that got buried under everyone else's expectations. You start enjoying your own company again. You begin finding joy in simple things, watching the birds, sipping your tea, walking without having to explain yourself. The air feels different when you're no longer being emotionally monitored or manipulated. You start having space to explore new friendships, hobbies, maybe even travel, because your mind isn't cluttered by drama you didn't ask for. One of the most powerful truths you can learn after 60 is that peace comes from subtraction, not addition. It's not about having more people around. It's about having fewer who actually matter. That one friend who calls just to check in, the neighbor who smiles and brings you a flower from her garden, the old friend you reconnect with after years apart. They're the ones who feed your soul. They don't come with noise or demands. They bring warmth, comfort, and ease. The more you step away from toxic relatives, the more room you have to let those kinds of people in. And that shift, it's life-changing. It restores your faith in relationships. It reminds you that connection can be simple, beautiful, and nourishing. And here's something else many people don't talk about. You don't need to make a dramatic exit from toxic relatives. You don't need to confront them, argue, or explain your reasons. Sometimes the most powerful boundary is quiet. You stop picking up the phone so often. You stop replying to texts that are passive-aggressive or guilt-laced. You stop offering your presence where it's clearly unappreciated or misused. Your silence becomes your protection. Your distance becomes your declaration. You don't need to burn bridges, but you don't need to walk across them either if they only lead you to pain. Let them wonder why you're distant. Let them speculate. You're not obligated to fix their feelings when they've never respected yours. And as this new peace grows in your life, you start realizing that your health improves too. Your sleep deepens. Your mood lifts. Your anxiety lessens. Even your blood pressure may stabilize. That's not a coincidence. Toxic people create stress, and stress is a slow poison. But the absence of stress, that's healing. It's like taking off tight shoes you've worn for too long. There's a breath your soul takes when you finally feel safe, truly safe, in your relationships. You stop waiting for the next jab, the next guilt trip, the next moment of being used. You just exist. And in that stillness, you find something you may have been missing for years. Yourself. That's when the real transformation begins. You start redefining family, not as the people who share your last name, but as the ones who protect your peace. Sometimes that's your best friend. Sometimes it's your granddaughter who visits with genuine affection. Sometimes it's your pet, or even the people in your community who smile and wave. Family is who loves you without conditions. Family is who listens without judgment. Family is who supports you without scorekeeping. The rest? Let them go. Let them fade into the background of your life like old noise you no longer care to hear. You don't need to hate them. You don't need revenge. You just need space, and in that space you grow. You learn to fill your days with what actually matters. You pick up books that inspire you, cook meals you enjoy, walk in the sunshine without worrying about anyone's judgment. You give your time to people who truly care, and most importantly, you give your time to yourself. You learn to trust your instincts again. You begin to notice how certain people make you feel, and you honor that feeling instead of brushing it aside. That inner voice you ignored for years, it gets louder. It tells you when to walk away, when to rest, when to protect your joy like the treasure it is. And sure, some days will feel lonely. Setting boundaries comes with silence. But that silence isn't empty. It's cleansing. It's where you find clarity. It's where you stop performing and start living. And soon enough, that loneliness fades as better people find their way into your life. Because when you clear out the chaos, you make room for connection. Real connection. The kind that doesn't hurt. The kind that reminds you that you're not too old, too difficult, or too sensitive. You're simply someone who finally decided that their peace mattered more than someone else's approval. You start creating your own traditions. Maybe Sunday mornings become your time to listen to music you love. Maybe you call a friend who makes you laugh. Maybe you write in a journal or tend to a small garden. These small acts are not small, they're sacred. They're the rituals of a life reclaimed. And the more you lean into them, the more empowered you become. You stop apologizing for needing space. You stop feeling bad for protecting your joy. You realize that the people who truly love you will never punish you for setting boundaries. They'll respect you more for it. And over time, something amazing happens. You become the peace you once searched for. You radiate calm. You walk lighter. You feel free. People notice. They ask what changed. And all you can say is, I stopped giving my energy to people who didn't value it. I chose me. I chose peace. And the life that followed, it was quieter, yes, but it was also richer, deeper, and more beautiful than I ever imagined. So if you're still holding on to relationships that hurt you, ask yourself, what am I really afraid of losing? If the answer is only drama, guilt, or obligation, maybe it's not a loss at all. Maybe it's the beginning of your greatest gain, a life that finally feels like yours. Keep choosing you every single day, because at this age, nothing is more revolutionary or more healing than peace. And the most beautiful part about choosing peace after 60 is that it doesn't just change how you feel, it changes how you see everything. The world becomes softer, brighter. You start noticing things you missed before, like the sound of wind through the trees, the way a stranger's smile warms your heart, the comfort in a quiet evening where no one is asking anything from you. When you're no longer entangled in the emotional mess of toxic relatives, your energy comes back in waves. You begin to remember who you were before life piled layers of expectation and pain onto your shoulders. Maybe you were once playful, artistic, adventurous. Maybe you were a great listener, a dreamer, someone who loved to laugh. That person is still in you, waiting to come alive again. And the moment you shut the door on people who dismiss or drain you, you make space for that inner light to shine again, brighter than ever. You don't need anyone's permission to live softly, quietly, intentionally. You don't need to explain why certain people no longer have a seat at your table. You don't owe anyone access to your energy, especially when they've repeatedly shown they'll only misuse it. This isn't about cutting people off out of spite. It's about loving yourself enough to no longer accept emotional crumbs. When someone constantly dismisses your feelings, mocks your ideas, or makes you feel less than, they're not just hurting your heart, they're damaging your spirit. And the older we get, the more fragile that spirit becomes. But also, the more precious it becomes. After everything you've survived, you deserve a soft place to land. You deserve mornings that begin in peace and nights that end with gratitude, not emotional exhaustion. You deserve people around you who look at you and think, I'm lucky to have them in my life. not people who act like your presence is a burden or your love is a transaction. There's such quiet power in walking away from people who treat you like an option. And when you start doing that consistently, a new kind of strength blooms inside you. You begin to rely less on external validation and more on your inner compass. You stop fearing what might happen if you set a boundary and start trusting that whatever follows will be better than what came before. Because nothing is lonelier than being surrounded by people who don't really see you, who only call when they want something, who roll their eyes when you speak. Real loneliness isn't solitude, it's emotional invisibility. And once you recognize that, you no longer fear being alone. In fact, you start cherishing it. The peace of your own company becomes a sanctuary. The absence of toxic voices becomes music to your soul. You begin to notice how your body responds to peace. Your shoulders loosen. Your breathing deepens. Your face softens. When you stop waiting for validation from people who've never given it freely, you begin to validate yourself in small, beautiful ways. You start saying things like, I did enough today. I am enough. You make your tea and sit in the sun and say, this moment is mine. And when those old voices of guilt and obligation creep in, you gently tell them, not today, not anymore. Because healing isn't loud. It's subtle. It's choosing not to return that call. It's deciding not to explain yourself to someone who's never tried to understand. It's waking up one day and realizing that life feels lighter, not because others change, but because you finally did, and this shift doesn't go unnoticed. People around you may become confused. They may say you've changed. They may try to pull you back into old dynamics. Don't let them. Remember, when you begin healing and setting boundaries, it often threatens those who benefited from your lack of them. That doesn't mean you're wrong. It means you're growing. And anyone who truly loves you will grow with you, or at least respect your growth. You'll know the difference because the right people will feel like a deep breath, not a clenched jaw. They'll be curious about your well-being. They'll ask how you're really doing, not so they can judge or compare, but so they can support you. And that's what you deserve. Real connection, not performance. Mutual care, not obligation. So, if you're standing at the edge of this decision, unsure whether to let go of that one relative who's always made you feel like you're never enough, consider this your sign. Let them go. Bless them in your heart and move forward. Not with anger, but with clarity. Because peace isn't something we stumble into. It's something we choose moment by moment, relationship by relationship. And it's never too late to choose it. Even if you've spent 60 years people-pleasing, caretaking, overgiving, and under-receiving, you can begin today. You can reclaim your joy. You can protect your spirit. You can walk toward a quieter, richer, more beautiful life that honors who you are now, not who you had to be for others. The truth is, after 60, your life should feel like a reward, not a continuation of suffering. You've earned the right to sit in rooms that feel warm, to talk to people who listen deeply, to spend your energy only where it returns to you. You no longer have to be the glue that holds everyone else together. You can put down that burden. You can choose softness. You can choose silence over shouting, ease over tension, solitude over chaos. You can let the ones who don't value you fade into the distance while you move forward with grace and confidence, knowing you didn't lose them. You found yourself. And in that finding, you'll discover that life still holds beauty, still holds joy, still holds sacred moments that are yours to claim. And all of it begins with the courage to say, my peace matters. My heart matters. And from this moment on, I will not offer them to people who treat them carelessly.